Eagle-Eye Cherry, a pleasure to have you at noise11.com. I have interviewed you once before. I think it would have been probably about 97. It was
Ooh,
a long, long time ago.
face to face or phone?
You came down to Australia.
Yeah, but I was wondering. Okay, so I actually
Yeah.
met you before.
So,
Good
yeah,
to see you again after all these years.
a lot grayer, a lot older.
Time.
We'll catch up face to face when you get back down here, which isn't too far away. Down in
No, it's not.
October with UB40, and you do have a more recent album, Back on Track. Is that's what has inspired you to get back into live work around the world?
Well, back on track. I'm getting back on track. I released 2018. I released Streets of You, which was kind of my real comeback album, and then I recorded the next album right after we finished our tour at the end of 2019. And I wanted to capture that live energy that we had on the road. And then COVID came and just kind of stopped everything. So I had to live with that album for quite a while, Back on Track. So when it came time to give the album a title, and one of the tracks is Back on Track, and I felt like for everybody, the way the world has stopped for like 2 years and we were all kind of holed up in our homes, that I felt like, let's get back on track.
Let's talk about Back on Track. I Like It came out in 2021. So that was the first taste of the album. Then we had to wait well over a year until the Back on Track album did eventually.
Yeah. I Like It is kind of exactly what I'm talking about. Is I wrote, getting that live energy, and I wrote those songs. A lot of them were kind of songs that I felt was missing from our set list. And I Like It is one of those tunes that it works really well live. It's just kind of, a little bit of a reflection. It's funny because it's kind of punk meets Fleetwood Mac. So the verses are very kind of easygoing, and then the chorus is like full on.
That energy that you talk about does make it a point of difference with the other Eagle-Eye Cherry albums.
Yeah, I guess in a way. I think the one kind of through line through all my music is guitars, bass, drums, and keyboards. It's I still make organic music. I still want to have it live when we record. But then I think, my second album had Still Having Fun, which is pretty full on, but then I also like a nice ballad and something acoustic. And so there's certain elements that turn up, but I don't feel that I reinvent myself like some people do, but I'd say the edges aren't as rough nowadays. Things are a little bit cleaner with the way the technology works and stuff. That's one main difference, I think, if you compare the sounds. I mean, first album, Desireless, is quite lo-fi, actually. And Save Tonight is kind of the only semi-up-tempo song on the whole album, basically.
Yeah, and what a hit that was. I still hear that song on the radio even today.
I think that song's going to probably live longer than I do.
Does it surprise you that it has had this life that has just taken on a life of itself, basically?
Yeah, of course. I mean, when I sat one afternoon writing that song, I didn't think I was writing a song that's going to do exactly that every songwriter hopes, which is to stand the test of time, to write a song that hangs around, And now, after time, I still love playing the song, and luckily, I think it's a really good song. It's not like I have to play a song that I hate,
Did it come fast then? You said, one afternoon. I know, Sweet Child of Mine, Guns N' Roses, Slash says was a 5-minute song. Lady Gaga, Just Dance was 10 minutes. Ed Sheeran says Photograph was 10 minutes. Crazy Little Thing Called Love was 10 minutes. Ray Charles says What I Say was 15 minutes to write. Beyonce, Single Ladies, 20 minutes. REM, Losing My Religion, 10 minutes. So I think the Rolling Stones were actually slacking off when it took 40 minutes to write Satisfactions.
They're all lying, man.
How many minutes went into Save Tonight?
I actually wrote it because I live in Stockholm, and I used to have a small apartment just over there, and I'm like in the middle in this little shack, and the building is around us. And then I moved to a bigger apartment over there. But I wrote it right over there, and I can't say exactly, but it was not long, an afternoon. So I probably worked on it for like an hour or something, and had kind of the basic idea. And then I think I wrote the last verse in the studio. But I do think that the best songs, and you just gave us a list of a lot of them, should be easy to write. I think it's you can feel it when you hear it, and to me, in some ways, it feels like when you really get there and you're in that zone, it's as if the song already exists. I'm just the one lucky enough to grab it out of wherever that sphere where all that cool stuff spins around.
7 Eagle Eye Cherry albums since 1997. Prolific is not a word we would use to describe you, is it?
No, no. I'm sparse, but try to keep the quality high.
Excellent. What about the other career, the acting career? Because, like you could have been an actor at one point. I mean, you're on that trajectory. There was some very big movies in there as well. Arthur 2, Born on the 4th of July, even the Doors movie. You were a Doors roadie.
Yeah, standing there shooting that, being a roadie, I felt like, you know what? I think I want to be over there on stage. I was lucky because I was into acting, and I went to drama school in New York, and then I was also playing music. I was a drummer at the time, and I had a band in high school, and we were playing around town. And then my whole thing was just being creative, and just I didn't really have a plan. And when I graduated, I started getting a lot of work as an actor. I got an agent right away, and then that was paying my bills in Brooklyn, and giving me the chance to buy equipment that I needed to make music. So it just kind of rolled that way. But in those days, being an actor of color, I mean, it was fairly limited. I was auditioning for a lot of drug dealers, and it just, and I could see that I wanted to do something. It's funny because there was a commercial I did for some kind of skincare. I can't remember what it's called, but anyway. And they were recognizing me for the commercial, especially girls were coming up. Clearasil, it was a Clearasil commercial. And these girls were like, "Oh, aren't you the Clearasil guy?" And I remember thinking, all right, I don't want to be recognized for something I'm not proud of, and having to like kind of represent something I wasn't sure about. So I think that was a real kind of getting those experiences made me kind of realize I have to create something that I can say is 100% me. And that's when I started more getting into songwriting, because I was more of a drummer and being behind the scenes in the band. And I started feeling a need to say, I need to make something that I can say, that's me. That's 100% me. And then one thing led to another. And here I am talking to you in Australia.
All these years later. What about the work with Santana on the 18th album, Supernatural? That which actually became not only his biggest album ever. Supernatural sold more than all of the 17 Santana albums added together before it.
You're a trivia man.
Yeah.
I think, and Santana had done pretty well during the years. He had a solid fan base. I think all his albums were basically gold in the States. And when I got the question from Santana to be on his album, it was a no-brainer, because he was a legend, and I thought he was fantastic. And the thing about Santana is why that album worked, being that he had like guest artists, and all the songs are quite different in style. But as soon as he starts playing his guitar, it becomes a Santana album, no matter what the production is. So yeah, I got that question. I got together with the Dust Brothers, wrote the track, and then I didn't even meet Santana until I talked to him on the phone, but I didn't meet him until we actually were in the studio tracking it in LA. And that song, I wrote the last verse. I was out partying the night before I bumped into a Swedish band, and we had a crazy night. And I remember being on the tour bus because the hotel bar had closed, and we brought everybody on the bus. And my guitar player was screaming at me through my fog, "Go to bed. You're working with Santana tomorrow." And I eventually went to bed. But it's a funny memory, because I would never do that today. It's like if I had an important gig like that tomorrow, I wouldn't be out partying. So I wrote the last verse in the car on the way to the studio to record the track with Santana. And then I did it because I thought he was a great guy. I didn't expect it to become such a multi-platinum. I have the album on the wall and it's like 8 or 9 discs or something on it, you know, because it's so multi-platinum. It was
It was
insane.
the biggest album of the year, I think. It was massive.
It was massive.
Yeah. And, the track we're talking about, Wishing It Was.
Mhm.
So was that ever intended to be your song or did you write it specifically for Carlos?
Oh, it's specifically for him. What the Dust Brothers did is they sampled a bunch of Santana stuff. So that guitar lick in the beginning, doo, 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 that's like a sample from some other Santana track. So they built a sound scape with Santana samples, and then they put a beat to that. And then I wrote uh, what I wrote to that, and then Santana, I guess they sent it to him to get the approval of and then they built it from there. So it was 100% for him, and he really Beauty and Grace. He really liked because I opened the song with Beauty and Grace, and that is very much uh, in the spirit of what Santana is all about.
How often do you play it? And will you play it in Australia?
Good question. I haven't decided where I'm playing in Australia, but someone just in the band just asked me the other day. My drummer was like, have you played that song live? Because we haven't been doing it lately. So it's been a while since I played that song live. But I'm opening up for UB40, so I'm not going to be playing a really, really long set. It's been a while since I did like kind of a tighter set, so it's going to be really hard to decide which songs are going to get the honor of being on the set list for Australia.
I'll make it easy for you. I'm in Melbourne. Just do it for Melbourne.
All right, I'll give it a thought.
Done deal. Well, actually, just do it for Winston.
Winston, Winston for
Winston
you.
wants to hear that song.
I'll do a reggae version.
That would be fantastic.
Winston on UB40.
Yeah. Well, Eagle Eye, it's going to be great to see you down here again. Let me see. October 12 is when it all begins on the Gold Coast with UB40.
Yeah.
Good to see you in Australia.
See you then.
And thanks for joining us at Noise 11.
Yeah.